the first Antennagate.
Which iPhone was this?
The iPhone 4.
And this was my iPhone 4. Antennagate is right there. So this strip of metal here was part of the cellular antenna. And this piece of metal down here was not. The thing that stops them from touching is this tiny vertical strip of plastic. They don't touch each other, and so this is doing your cellular antenna. If you hold the phone, particularly if you're left-handed with your big-ass hand over it, you electrically connect these two through your skin.
Yep. Yes.
Right? Skin is generally considered an insulator, a resistor, actually, right? Particularly if you're a little bit sweaty.
Yeah,
if you're a little bit sweaty.
Conductive.
It'll connect those two pieces of metal. Now this thing is no longer a properly tuned antenna. How come Apple puts out these new phones, these premium phones after all this work, and then so frequently they have either cellular or Wi-Fi problems that get fixed in a software update?
Oh, we forgot about
this. This happens nearly every time. There have been so many new phones.
Yeah. I mean, you can go back to 2010, it was. AT&T and some of their antenna engineers try to tell Mr. Jobs to stop the release, don't do it, there's going to be problems, and big corporations say, we don't care, push the product, it's revolutionary, it's the new antenna, we're going to come out with it.
But man, it is just such a nice design, right?
I love the 4.
Look, it's just such a nice sandwich. Glass, metal, glass. I mean, the corners are a little sharp. Doesn't quite have the elegance of the original iPhone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Every corner is curved. There's no edges on this. It feels solid. Right? It's thick aluminum. Mm-hmm. It's glass on the front. And here, all of the antennas are behind this piece of plastic. There's Wi-Fi and cellular antennas behind the plastic. They didn't get clever with using the metal on the outside of the phone as an antenna. Just plastic. So their antenna's behind this, and they're covered up, so you can't touch them.
Smart.
RF goes through ABS plastic just fine. One of the guys here ran out and bought himself an iPhone 17 Air. Mm-hmm. And he is seeing very strange latency numbers.
Which is
on 5G, he's getting latencies as high as 750 milliseconds, which is awful. 3/4 of a second to get a message through the 5G cellular.
Yeah.
Which makes me think it's just a software bug and that this will just be fixed.
Well, the Air.
There's somebody has to have bad code holding up the packets. Where else could you get it? So they're probably accidentally dropping it into some sort of low power sleep mode while he's still using it, and they'll figure out the bug and get the fix out.
I agree. Yeah, it's weird that he's having problems with the Air because that was considered one of the stable models that wasn't affected because of Apple's new chips. But yeah, it seems like all 4 models.
Right. Other people are complaining about the 17 and the Pro Max, but those use totally different wireless chips, totally different antennas. Right. The Air is all Apple technology. That's their CXN wireless
the Air uses the C1X.
Their new antennas.
And so the new models also use the N1. The N1 and the Snapdragon and the 17
So the N1 is Apple's new Wi-Fi chip.
Right. So the Pro models and the base model are using Snapdragon and Apple's chip, which is causing problems. But then the Air is using 2 of Apple's newest chips together, and I guess they're still hitting problems. But I do think it's a software issue.
What debugging tools are there for tracking down the cause of these network problems, right? I mean, I've got an iPhone and it's got terrible latency. How do I know if it's the app or the operating system or the firmware or the internet connection or the web server? I mean, are there tools built into iOS or built into Xcode?
Yeah, Xcode is the way you develop for iOS applications. So there are existing monitoring tools that you can measure the network out of your app on some of these Xcode tools that they give you. So, Apple's very, sandbox. So you only get so much. So you could see where your app is failing at what level. And then you could take it another level and you could use programs like Wireshark and you could monitor, is it reaching the internet? Is it going out of the internet? How is it coming back? And that's kind of the stack you would use. Is basically profiling your app in Xcode. That looks okay. You want to get deeper. You're going to go to Wireshark. You're going to actually see what the internet is doing.
One neat tool I really like, and it's just hidden there in iOS, and you can find it in the menus. The link conditioner.
Yes, yeah.
You can tell it to just lose packet. You can just tell add 200 milliseconds of latency to my cellular.
And it does it.
And then you have like...
Yeah, that's how we test a lot of these things.
Then you have crappy cellular, right? You can just make it... Obviously, you can't make it better.
Right,
you can make it worse. So it's got all these settings to make your internet worse on your phone.
Yes.
And hopefully you don't forget you did it.
Sometimes
because it magically makes your internet worse. And so you can test all your apps and stuff like, well, would this work if the internet was only 1 megabit? Well, you can dial in and say, make my Wi-Fi only 1 megabit.
We use that a lot here at Speedify to test, how would 2 low latency cellular connections and how parent share works with smaller packets. So yeah, it's really great.
So Speedify, so we're talking, Apple has their N1 chip for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and Thread, and then they have the C chips where they're doing, 4G and 5G. With Speedify, do we test the cellular differently than the Wi-Fi? Or is it all the same to us?
Not particularly. I mean, we'll test the bonding effects. We'll test, turning one radio off. We'll test, putting different latencies and different link conditioners on each connection, whether it's, cellular or Wi-Fi, see how they react. I wouldn't think we treat it as much differently in testing, but in practice, I mean, cellular's expensive. It varies, it ranges. Wi-Fi is more dependable. It's, depending if you're in good range. So
yeah, I heard an interesting stat from someone at Apple, actually, that sending a bit of data over cellular uses 3 times as much power as sending a bit of data over the Wi-Fi.
I believe that.
Right? So if you can get Wi-Fi to work, your battery will last much longer, right?
And that's why Apple will control that for you as much as it can.
They try to push you to the Wi-Fi. Also cellular tends to be more expensive. A lot of people have unlimited now, but even a lot of the unlimited isn't unlimited.
No.
Right? It's after 20 gigabytes, they start slowing you down. So it's not really, really unlimited, where a lot of the Wi-Fi really is, right?
That's what I'm curious. Like, their new chips are coming out, and Apple's always, they want to make things more efficient. Does their C1X chips actually provide better battery usage with cellular modems, or just fixed and it is what it is? I'm curious why they went that route. I know they want to integrate it into more products, like the Mac. We'll see. But yeah, I'm curious how Apple actually makes strides in that area.
Do you think Apple is optimizing for energy efficiency or for speed? Like, do you think some of these problems with Apple's stuff is just they're trying to be too energy efficient?
Oh, completely energy efficient. I mean, their chips can tout we do Wi-Fi 7. We have the capability to do X amount of gigabytes per second. That's what we do. Our battery life is 17 hours a day. That's what we do. You have speed problems, must be your carrier's problem. That's Apple's take. That's my take from Apple anyway. I think that, the carriers, they definitely work with Apple right before release. So they have an idea of how each phone will operate on our network and what the speed throttling might be when they hit these speeds. That's why if you saw, back in 2010 in Antennagate, AT&T was trying to stop Apple from shipping this, and they got put in the lawsuit with them. So all of these carriers are now on Apple's, ecosystem. And so, there's a fine line, but Apple's priority is Apple's numbers. And that's
it's interesting because to most users, I think not running out of battery during the day is in fact more important than an extra megabit of speed.
Agreed.
Right? I'm not sure that Apple's wrong here.
Nope.
In fact, I realized, right, these people sitting here running, speedtest.net over and over, trying to make sure that they get the 930 megabits, not just 870 megabits. Other than running the speed tests, do these things affect your life at all?
Very fine-grained edge cases, I would say. Like, like if you're in the edge of nowhere, a little bit of speed boost might help you, but in your normal day-to-day, no. And then the pros, Apple's now adding new technology like mmWave for cities and giving you more capabilities, and that adds to Apple's numbers. So
yeah. Those peak speeds they can brag about, even though they're not normally getting them.
Have you ever seen them? No, but they exist.
I know this doesn't sound exciting, but I think the real truth is that fast internet is about 25 megabits.
Yeah. That's your
streaming 4K. If you're
or
sitting there, reloading on speed test, 25 megabits seems terrible. But I think that if you never run speed test, if you have 25 down and 25 up, By the way, none of this nonsense about, you only need 3 megabits
No.
up. I need full speed up.
Yeah.
But if I have 25 down and 25 up on my cell phone and I don't ever run a speed test, I think I'm good.
I agree. I mean, if you could send movies to your friends, fine. What's the speed on that? If I could download my apps on the App Store without even blinking an eye, and if I could watch my Netflix,
the stuff with 5 gigabits, you can download your entire music collection in 6
do
seconds.
that on a cell phone.
Sure, but how often do I download? More often I'm watching Slack,
Yes.
waiting for someone else to type something in the comments here.
And the raw speed's good, but you're still dealing with servers on the other side. So Netflix isn't going to give you, the speed you think you're going to have.
What was the solution, if there was one, to Antennagate on the iPhone 4? The first attempt at Apple's solution to Antennagate was to put out a software update that they claimed was a bug fix that made the number of bars not drop in the user interface when you put your finger on here. And they tried to claim it was just a software bug. But that fooled no one because they could put their finger on there and do speedtest.net and see they got lower results and take their finger away and see that they got faster results and that it was completely reproducible whether or not Apple moved the bars. We noticed. So then there was the "you're holding it wrong" nonsense, which, was...
That's Steve Jobs for you, though.
Yeah.
You're doing it wrong.
Didn't get away with that. It became a classic. Right now, people use that to mock Apple to this day. The final solution was that they gave out free cases. The reason Apple shipped this one without noticing it is that they required all Apple employees to use cases on the phone when testing them so that people wouldn't get good pictures of the phone. The one that showed up in the bar and got stolen, it was in a case, and they took off the case to get the photos of it. Apple only tested this in cases, so they just gave everyone cases. It's not your hand being close that does it. It's touching. So they just gave everyone cases, and that was the end of that. They keep shipping these phones with wireless problems, some with the now that this round seems to have cellular problems.
Yeah.
Some rounds seem to have Wi-Fi problems, but then in the end, they do a software update and it seems to fix it. What are they doing in these software updates?
So some of it, in terms of Apple, there's firmware updates. So it changes how the actual radios communicate with each other.
So what is firmware?
So firmware is basically what's under the operating system, how the actual undercore of your device is working, how the hardware is working with the software, things like that. Apple controls the energy each one gets, how they communicate, the frequencies, how they operate back and forth. And, if software breaks the communication between them, you're going to see drop bars, you're going to see drop signals. So firmware could change what they see as a problem. But you'll also see back on some of these older devices, there's a lot of carrier updates that needed to be applied, which are probably, I'm assuming, cell phone tower updates that needed to be patched specifically to your carrier. The new phones operate on eSIMs, which is now all software, and they support 6 carriers at the same time. So, that's a lot of varying circumstances for software to take care of. So,
Wait, how did you do a SIM in this? Did it not have a SIM slot?
There was a SIM slot. Is it?
So this is my iPhone 4. I don't see a SIM slot on it.
It's been such a long time. We have a couple. Oh, right here. Well, this 4 has one right here.
Oh, weird. Oh, my gosh. We're going back so far. 3G. There were different versions of the phone.
Yeah, 3G, 3GS.
There were different versions of 3G, right? There was the CDMA.
Oh, yeah, that was the old AT&T Singular Wireless.
Right, so AT&T didn't have SIM cards.
They were just kind of baked in.
All right, I
Yeah.
completely forgot about this stuff. Jeez, it was only with LTE 4G
We had SIM cards.
that the carriers all converged on the same protocol. In fact, at the beginning, there were 2 protocols, right? There was LTE and there was WiMAX. Clear and a bunch of other people went with the WiMAX, but they failed and they lost to LTE.
Oh.
And once that happened, basically every carrier in the world
Swap over.
swapped over to use the same technology. And it was a technology that used SIM cards. And it became really nice for consumers, honestly. Much as in general competition is good, on some of these standards it isn't, right? Because you could just buy any phone. You could take an AT&T phone, cancel your subscription, go to Verizon and say, turn on my phone on your network.
Yeah, well, that's new.
They had you go to settings about, read them some numbers.
Yep.
And voila, you could change carriers. That was really cool. And now, of course, everyone went to 5G. And it's interesting, they just call it 5G. Through a lot of the standards, it refers to itself as NR, new radio.
Yeah, they just
which I just
marketing.
despise. Could we stop naming new things new and modern?
I know. What happens in a year?
They
2
name
years
things
is new.
modern, and 2 years later they seem old-fashioned. They keep doing this, right? Modern art
Yeah. At what point
is
does it
art
become
that's
not?
50 years old, right? Modern art is like a mid-20th century thing, right?
Maybe it makes us
Modern
feel
art is
good.
not modern.
No.
Can we just do better and give things names, All right. Hi, sorry, but the best place for an Apple product is in a dumpster. No, afraid that is not correct. Not everything is a hit, but man, and people claim that Apple doesn't innovate, but I think they just say that to make themselves feel better.
Yep.
Holy cow, the Apple Watch. I mean, they didn't invent the idea of the watch.
No, they made it better.
Apple was doing it. By now, it's transformed into a health thing.
Saving
That
people's
is
lives. over there.
entirely original, saving people's lives. Someone I know has it set up so that, when their heart rate gets too irregular, it pokes their doctor.
That's crazy.
It turns out you can set it to send your heart alerts to your doctor,
Wow.
either in addition to you or instead of you. Talk to this person.
I don't want to hear it, yeah.
And they said, yeah, a lot of people get so stressed they don't want these
I agree.
alerts.
That's
But
great.
you can have it sent to your doctor.
I think it's fantastic.
And when I was at this person's house, the phone rang.
Oh gosh, I'd be like, is it?
And it was the doctor.
No.
And you know what? Maybe you should come in. Crazy
Scary
stuff,
stuff, yeah.
Right? I mean, no one else is doing that but Apple.
No one. Do we forget what was before the OG? Those
Oh.
Windows phones were horrible.
Windows phones, so awesome. So built into the phones, the 5G in particular, there's this carrier aggregation thing. You know much about this? Carrier aggregation, band steering on the iPhones. Do they create any issues?
As far as different providers? Oh,
Yeah.
you mean prioritizing maybe 4G over 5G and steering you in different ways? I think they could hinder your performance sometimes. I think that sometimes your phone lies to you when you're on 5 and you're on 4. But I think some of the older models where it was switching between LTE and the 4G, I think that was some problems that we had in the past.
AT&T. Apple let the carriers provide the icons for the bars. And for the 4G and the 5G. And AT&T, if you have really good signal strength on 4G, it changes to say 5GE. 5E. That's right?
5Ed, yeah. Okay.
What is 5E?
What is that?
5E is 4G
Yes.
with a good signal strength. 4G is working really well. AT&T calls it 5G because they just want to slap that up there.
Yep.
And it's totally, but they put the extra E on. You get the 5E, and that's how you know it's not 5 at all. It wasn't Apple's fault.
No.
They told the carriers, you guys can put the icons up there in case you have your font or whatever in little 5G because you're the one providing the 5G. And so AT&T, and they do to this day. If you have an AT&T phone, you look up there and it says 5E.
Mm-hmm.
You're on 4G. It is.
Take it off. It says 5G for me.
Yeah. The carrier aggregation stuff that's built into 5G is using it's the same carrier, it's the same tower, it's just grabbing two different slots at the same time. So, I mean, it's a little bit better, but it's not combining two different internet connections.
No.
Getting
Which
on
one did
Verizon
first?
AT&T. It's letting you use, 1.9 gigahertz and 1.91 gigahertz at the same time to the same tower. So it's a nice little optimization that if not many people are around,
See a difference.
then a phone can, basically grab two phones worth of slots and get a little extra bandwidth. It's not some deep thing.
Alex, what we need is the dual SIM at the same time. Why Apple is not working on? I guess that comes back to
DSDA.
That's what we need.
DSDA.
Yes.
Dual SIM, dual active.
Yes.
So all the iPhones today are DSDS. Dual SIM. Well, the old ones were single SIM, but all the recent ones have two SIMs. But the two SIMs are sharing one cellular radio. So dual SIM, dual standby, only one at a time. Is actually working. Now, if you have the two SIMs set up, what it'll do is it'll spend 950 milliseconds on the one you set the data switch for, right? The two have the switch for like primary data. You turn the primary data on. It'll spend 950 milliseconds of each second on that carrier. And then it pops to the other one for 50 milliseconds to ask, do you have any texts for me? Do you have any notifications for me? And if so, it gets the text and the notifications and switches right back and pops them up.
Yep.
So you can get the notifications from both carriers. People text you. You tend to not notice that it's delayed by, on average, half a second.
Yeah, how would you know?
Right?
Yeah.
Pops up, boop, back and forth. And so you seem to be on both networks. I guess you are on both networks. But just with an internet connection that is so slow on the other that you can just barely get through texts and notifications because it's popping back and forth. Dual SIM, dual active. This is this vision of two radios in one phone. So you're really on both networks at once. Now, the iPhone 17 Pro and the Pro Max, but not the Air, have this new Qualcomm chip that supports dual SIM, dual active.
Oh, the Snapdragon
There
does?
are actually two cellular radios on that, but Apple doesn't care. It's only using one. That wasn't a feature they asked for. So there's still dual SIM, dual standby. Like I said, sending a byte over cellular uses 3 times as much power as Wi-Fi. They don't want to keep two cellular radios on.
That would be very
drain
bad
the
for
battery,
them. Yes.
right?
Yes.
So Apple didn't really want that feature. They got it from Qualcomm. It's in the chip. You can't use it. Very similar to the original iPhone. The Qualcomm chip from it had an FM tuner on it. There is an FM radio chip on this for picking up radio stations, but Apple just tied the antenna to ground. They had no interest. They were never going to use that. It just came for free from the chip. So they didn't connect an antenna to it. So there were people hacking and stuff and trying to figure out, is there something they could do to get it to work? And I think some people pulled the chip off and got it to work, but there's no way to get the iPhone to do that. Apple didn't want to be an FM radio for probably good reasons.
Yeah. And 20 years later, that's why Apple is now taking control of its own chips.
Yes,
like,
taking control. So yeah, they're designing chips that just do what they want. Exactly. So they don't have to worry about turning off features they have no intention of using.
More work, more, things could go wrong. Do any current cell phones use DSDA?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
But I think we're more likely to see some Android phone that decides to differentiate themselves as the one that can be on two networks at once than we are to ever see Apple do it.
I can't wait to see that future.
The obvious other question is, now that Apple has their cellular chips, are we going to see a cellular Mac?
Oh, Brian P., if you're listening, I know you don't. I would pretty much guarantee it in the next.
You guarantee? He guarantees
I
it
know.
won't. Holy cow!
Oh, Apple. Think about
battle
it.
royale.
They're putting all this money into their C1X chip, just their cellular chips. C1X. It's going to be Apple as a company right now. All they want to do is sell you more products and integrate more. If they're coming out with a touchscreen for your Mac, that's the next step to have your Mac go with you wherever you are.
Well, that's another one. Are they ever going to come out with touchscreen Mac?
Yeah, I think that was rumored for. I want to say a solid rumor that came out that Macs will have a touchscreen in the near future.
It sort of makes sense, except
you worry about the iPad.
they've taken so long that it seems like they're just not going to. That's not something they want.
The Pro and the iPads, they're in the $1,000 range. They're still competing with your cell phones. A touchscreen Mac with cellular, you're talking $2,500. That's prime Apple real estate. They're not competing with each other. Two separate products.
I gotta say, I booted up a Windows PC for the first time in a long time yesterday, and I was using the touchscreen.
Yeah.
I was like, I just poked it, and like
Just used to touching things.
That was so normal.
Yeah, I use Sidecar every day for my Mac. It's my third screen, and I find myself poking it all the time.
I bought an iPad for the family the other day, And I decided since it was going to be shared in the living room,
Okay.
I made, shared Gizis as a new user and added them to our families that get all the family purchases.
Nice.
But it wouldn't have any of its private stuff. That means the Sidecar stuff doesn't work. Only works if you're both signed into the same Apple account.
I didn't know that.
A different Apple account on the same family, it doesn't work.
Why iPads do not have different profiles is still mind-boggling to me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously that's what it ought to be. I mean, you pick up the iPad and you pick which one of us you are.
If anything, iPads are shared by kids and adults.
An iPad is not a personal device. I mean, I'm sure for someone it is, but
no, it's a shared
It's
device.
not for you. It's not for Brian. It's not for me. And I mean, we're pretty big geeks,
Yes.
right? We're into our gear. And the iPad is a thing you just leave out on the coffee table.
Yep.
And people pick it up. And, if somebody's going on a road trip, they take it to have a bigger screen to watch movies on. And,
Apple, why?
I think one spot where the Apple really got stuck was on making things thinner. And for a while, it was awesome.
Yes.
Because devices were so darn thick, right? That making them thinner was better and better. But at some point, a keyboard, the keys need to go in when you press them.
Yeah.
Like, I want a real key. I went out and I bought myself a low-profile Keychron keyboard to use with my Mac. And so I've got my thin Mac, and I carry with it the keyboard, right? I mean, I'm not getting any benefits from having a thin Mac, right? And Ethernet ports. God, I have to carry around Ethernet adapters with me, right?
Oh, USB.
I mean, why not make it thick enough to have I don't know.
Just look what they did with the Air. I mean, it's thick and thin. Like, why did they even bother? Just uniform it. I don't know.
All right, so thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
I know you're a busy man. I took a lot of time out of your day here, but I think it was worth it.
Yeah, good job.
So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you all online.